the boys were in the world, they had moved between 16 and 20 times in and out of different areas, from Dixon, Tennessee to Indiana to Kingsport. And no matter where they moved, we would always have to run them down and find them. But the thing about this last place they lived in, the conditions were so horrific. The teachers, they lived 100 yards within walking distance of school, and half the time wasn't even making it to school because mom and dad was still passed out the next morning. So with the help of the teachers, we secured the power of attorney. I retired at the end of February of 14, which is 1st of March. At the end of March, we had taken in the boys. And during the next couple of weeks, some information came out about the abuse and neglect, and DCS stepped in and put the boys in state custody on May 22nd. So that put us in a position where we had to, in order to keep the boys, go to school to become foster grandparents. The foster parents that they were with the conditions were really not healthy for the kids and their emotional state. They were regressing on an emotional level, being challenged, and so we started at the governor's office and started working our way through the top levels of DCS, and finally had a supervisor call us and ask us if we would take the kids. And of course we were overjoyed and had an attorney that wasn't possible. And so anyway, after a lot of prayer, it took place. And but in the very beginning of this DCS custody is when we had a real dear teacher friend that our name is Miss Kinnear, and her daughter and son kind of adopted us and the boys, and that was Zach's second grade teacher. And she's the one that suggested Mustard Seed Ranch. We took her advice and gave Miss Tammy a call, set up an appointment, and we met with the people here at Mustard Seed Ranch. Our first meeting, it was quite extensive. It was emotionally overwhelming, and by the end of that meeting, we just knew through the prayer that was taking place at that meeting that this is where the boys would eventually end up, and that God had placed, with the law of synchronicity, Mustard Seed Ranch in their path.
It was such a beautiful meeting. There were tears, yes, and they were prayer, and they were laughter, and it was joy and such compassion. And we knew that we had found the family where God wanted these boys to be.
After we met with the staff here, and we took the information they gave us and to the board, and the next monthly meeting that the DCS supervisors and all had, and laid it out that this was our desire and our direction we'd like for these boys to go. And they reminded us they were in state custody and they had the final say on what was going to go on, and said this is not a fit for the boys and that they would take care of things from that point on. We looked at one another and thought, this is not good for these two boys. So as time went on and things developed, we did end up getting them out of DCS custody on the 18th of December, and then the 25th of December, my bride went into emergency room for emergency surgery. She was in intensive care for a little over a week, in the hospital a couple of weeks. But anyway, we had the boys. That was a blessing. That was a little much for them in the very beginning when them coming back. But we did real well. But it was a reminder that because of our age, we were going to need more than just temporary help. So it was an awakening for us that we needed to find another resolution besides some temporary help on the weekends.
So during this period of time that we had Dylan and Zach, that Dylan was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, the ADHD, and that he was very angry and hurting extremely deeply. Then with Zach, he was voicing his and having what I used to call meltdowns, 6 or 8 a day, and that we would, out of a lot of research, found that we could get him to recycle by separating him for 15 or 20 minutes until he could calm down. But he was being able to voice what he was feeling and hurting so desperately, where before he hadn't had anyone to listen to him without getting beaten. And that he also had post-traumatic stress. He was having nightmares, and that so a lot of research and a lot of listening ears and people that was giving their expertise to us made a huge difference, and that we are very grateful.
We contacted Miss Tammy again and told her our story and what was going on, and she agreed to have another meeting. And so after that meeting, we were able to get to meet the house parents, and they, at that time, she had an opening for Dillard, and she didn't have one for Zach it took another year, but that was okay. Zach seemed to need more of our attention over that next year, and then we knew that that was just the way Spirit had things working, and we were okay with that. It was a challenge, but it worked out for the kids' benefit, not just ours or Mustard Seed, but that was the whole intent behind the prayer in the very beginning. It's what's best for these boys.
As far as going back to the beginning, when we first met the Dillards and heard about the boys, we sometimes have situations where we don't have current openings. We're not able to meet the need of a family at a time, and it's, just devastating and heart-wrenching on our part, because we, have to explain to the family, hey, we're not able to help you at this time. Here's some other programs that you can reach out to. But I love when the Lord places Mustard Seed Ranch on the hearts of guardians, and when they don't give up, and they keep reaching out, and they keep confirming that that their children need to be here. And that was the case with the Dillards. Dylan and Zach weren't able to come at the same time for different dynamics, whether it's the current children in the home, or we didn't have any openings, or we only had one opening, and there was a different need at the time. But the Dillards were always patient and always faithful and always, beyond a shadow of a doubt, knew that their boys needed to be here, and I so appreciate that.
Well, one of the things that came to light when we first got the boys, and I had mentioned it, where Carolyn went into the hospital through emergency, it made us realize that here we'd like to be 20, but here we know that it's not going to be that way, and we've got to think long term for the boys, and our challenges were physically such that we're not sure we're going to make it to these boys get through high school, and so we've got to think long term for them. Making this decision for their placement here at Mustard Seed Ranch, had it not been for the personalities, characters, and the love that they had shown us, we wouldn't have been able to do it. The guilt would have been so great going to any other kind of environment. And it's been hard enough letting go as it is. You still carry a certain amount of that, and that's natural, I guess. And it's going to take us a while to work through that. But we know in our hearts and our minds they are where they're supposed to be for their benefit, not ours. We love them, we miss them, and we're grateful.